I have been in Duke Energy like almost 7 years now, so definitely on the early stages. So our group basically, as Richard mentioned, started really small and basically trying to do things in a new way and different way that embraces agile development. Traditionally, our company had been more like waterfall focused, and things took a long time to maybe acquire or to test out or create any prototypes. So it's been really neat for me to see the transition that the company has done, where at the very beginning we had just a few of us wearing multiple hats. Like the developer was also the graphic designer and the UX designer. And now we actually have an army of just UX designers and graphic designers. And also we have, platforms that enable myself as a mobile front-end developer to quickly iterate and maybe have like sandbox environment that it's just safe to make mistakes and then transfer that to a production environment seamlessly. So those are some of the things that excite me too. And like I mentioned, my work primarily at Duke is focused on the front end experience, specifically on mobile, but definitely rely on those other technologies that have scaled over time for us to enable me to do some of the work that we do now.
Tell me a bit more about that journey, both over the 7 years. How have things changed in terms of the developer experience and the attention you get in terms of basically making your life easier?
As I mentioned, and I think I alluded a little bit to it already, is it's changed in that our ability to test out new ideas has definitely increased, and basically we can pivot. So sometimes our product owners might think of something and we could easily test it out without having to wait for a giant piece of hardware to be sectioned off. Like some of the platforms that we have right now allow us to just sandbox a developer environment really easily. So that is a tremendous shift for us. And also some of the technologies that we're using are really well documented because they are in trend with what's going on the industry, on the IT industry in general. So instead of having to basically retrain in order to maybe understand something new, it's like, use these APIs that use common security mechanism to communicate. So in that sense, the experience has changed drastically, where I don't feel like I have to learn some older technology just to meet a requirement. It's like, no, like we know the standards, and they have been proven out, and we can just utilize that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a bit more about that, because I think that notion of familiarity, and I guess one of the things that we've seen changing over the past few years is probably a bit of a convergence that there was historically sort of, if you were a developer and you were going to go into a side project, you'd be choosing a radically different set of tools than the ones you would have to use at work. So I'm sort of quite interested in whether you've seen that convergence in terms of those standards you've mentioned. So you got that familiarity of environment regardless of where you are.
Yes, so I think I can answer that a few ways. So there is so my focus is mostly on mobile, so I can speak only by the speed at which my counterparts, backend developers, move. But yes, so there's definitely a sense of like some of the words like Dockers and containers and things like that I know that many people just started to play in on their own homes. Like those kinds of stacks and just flexibility were brought in with different platforms in-house, and it doesn't feel like you're having to do something that is kind of off the radar. It's more like it's actually on a safer environment, and also like something that people already had a predisposition to work with because they were tinkering with those technologies at home too.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the sort of the cloud and how that makes your life easier, and what you'd like to see over the next couple of years.
So again, I come from the focus of the just being a client, a mobile front end developer. But what I'm noticing, or what I have noticed is, so at the beginning, Richard mentioned that as a company, we have some standards that we must have. So one of them that are not compromisable is security.
Mhm.
So something that I am seeing our platform engineers, and as I'm having some conversations and being part of them, is how do we secure basically Duke's PI and and still go to the cloud. So it's been really interesting. Even some of the conversations that we're having now, that I'm like, I it definitely would not be a possibility before, but because we're pivoting to the cloud and using new concepts, like they're becoming more of a thing where, like, could you have secure dev environments that maybe liberate the developer experience from being tied maybe to a combination machine to could you connect to an instance that would just run on the cloud and that has everything that you need and all of the bells and whistles installed, and maybe you don't have to fill out a bunch of forms to just try out a new piece of software if it is something that can be ephemeral and can be replaced easily. So that definitely speeds up the developer experience and also liberates me and the rest to be able to adopt things, but in a secure way. So with really strong cybersecurity foundations there. So I think that excites me. So because it even right now I'm using a physical computer, and it has a certain degree of lockdowns inside of it, right? But then on the cloud, we could do more experiments and try out new things and because it is protected by it's been vetted out, and I don't feel like I could be compromising something. So I think that's exciting. Just some of the things that are in the horizon as we move to the cloud is very exciting as a developer.
If we can let the platform do some of that heavy lifting in around security, that'll be better for everyone for sure. Thanks for your time, and everyone have a great day.